The steel industry is essential to the industrial growth and development of any nation. According to stakeholders in the industry, over 95% of the current steel production in Nigeria is from scrap metal, making the country currently focused on developing the upstream mining sector. In Nigeria, the domestic industry has been greatly hurt by poor provision of electricity, as a Ajaokuta Steel Company with theoretical capacity of 1.3 million tons of long steel products have been lying inactive due to the neglect of successive governments, managerial inefficiency, poor power supply, and lack of funds to complete the final phase, making the country spend billions of dollars annually on steels and iron imports. Power theft is one of the most prevalent issues, which not only causes economic loss, irregular and inadequate power supply of electricity, but also lead to poor power quality and also leading to the loss of revenue and slow growth to the entire manufacturing value chain. To shed more light on this and other issues affecting Nigeria's steel industry, I have the Vice Chairman of Basic Metal Sector of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Mr. Lekon Adewoye. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Adewoye.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Yes, let's start with an overview of the sector. A lot of things have, of course, played out over the years. Now, take us through where we were, where we are, and where we are supposed to be.
Well, thank you very much. I think it's unfortunate that with the myriad of challenges confronting the steel industry in Nigeria today, we're still talking about erratic power supply. And this, of course, is coming after several years of privatization in the power sector. It's a huge challenge. The sector ought not to be where it is right now, but because of all these challenges confronting the operation of the sector, we are not doing well at all. And we think it is time for the government to come in and intervene.
Yes, talking about not doing well at all now, many even say that some of the companies that are even operating are also having issues of importation is almost taking over the whole of the market. How do you react to this?
Well, I think this borders on the government policy. I'm aware that the Nigerian government has made effort in some of the policies we have seen, ensuring that the local manufacturing companies are doing very well. But you know, it is one thing to have a policy and it's another thing to implement it. Today, substantial materials that are being used in this country are imported into the country, and this is having a ripple effect on the operation of the steel manufacturing company in Nigeria.
Let's now look at debt of raw materials, like the Alaoji and Ajaokuta rolling mills that have hampered productivity of that sector because the both of them are not doing so well.
Well, I think the problem has been there for many years, and this has to do with the will on the part of the government. Today, if you look at the steel production in Nigeria, a few steel products that are being produced in Nigeria are from scrap, and essentially you cannot get the kind of quality steel you need from scrap to produce some special steel, and that's why we feel very strongly that the government ought to have done better in the area of steel production in Nigeria, especially if you look at the investment that they made in Ajaokuta Steel, and they're achieving nothing commensurate, to what we are seeing now. So, and until we get to that, we keep having this problem. We keep relying on imported raw materials into the country, and that's not going to help our economic development as a nation.
Now, steel smelting business is really intensive when it comes to electricity consumption. So now many say that with the level of what we know the megawatts we've been generating over in between 3,000 to 4,000, some say that steel companies will actually consume a lot of this if they are to work at optimal level. Now, how would they now manage? Because, of course, the bills will be on the high side. Tell us about that.
Okay, so steel company requires a lot of energy. There's no doubt about it. We have several melting furnaces in the country, electric arc furnace, induction furnace, and this, of course, require a lot of power. Unfortunately, we are not getting enough supply, especially if you look at some of our members are already on IPP because they are not getting enough power from the grid. Okay, and it's also unfortunate that not every steel company can depend on generator. Not every steel company can embark on IPP. So we need steady stable supply. And we think the time is now, for the government to look into this direction and do something in the interest of the nation.
Talking about the interest of the nation, we know that the government has been trying to improve supply, maybe one way or the other, but yes, we're yet to see that actually, yes, truly in figures, so that it reflects on the megawatts. But some also accuse, not just the steel industry now, talking about big industries, that there are issues of manipulation and people just try to even cut corners and not even pay as much as they ought to pay. What would you say? Do you think there needs to be an assessment of payments of big companies, big industries, so that residents and others are not paying for what they don't consume? I have a welding company around my area, and many people say that the consumption is high on that side.
Well, I don't think that is correct in terms of power theft.
Okay.
I cannot speak for domestic users. We are commercial users, and every electricity that goes into our operation is metered. So maybe it's happening in domestic area, but for commercial users, I don't think we've had that issue at all. Because it's just practically impossible. Because this is the core customers for the discos and the rest of them. Yeah.
Indeed, because at this time where they are talking about commercial losses and all kind of losses, and they really want to catch up with their billing system so that they can at least improve supply. Now, with all of this on the high side, obviously there will be increase in cost of production, and the output will also be increased, and so it will still fall back to the masses. How does this come to you?
Yeah, thank you very much. So business is good, they say when it's good for the society. We can understand that the power generation companies have their own problem, the steel manufacturing companies have their own problem, but it's not by going after one by destroying the business of other, you can survive. We have to look at the underlying problem we are having in the country. The cost of funding is very high. We all know that, and everybody is affected. The issue of infrastructure is also a major problem. You have the problem of unemployable workforce. So there are just numerous problems that we have to look into. I believe if all these problems are addressed, this problem will be solved, at least to a large extent.
Do you also think that smart metering can help address sharp practices across board?
Well, I believe so. I believe so. It's expected that everybody pays for whatever he or she consumes. So I think that should help significantly.
Another issue is public-private partnership. It comes to my mind when we talk about reactivating the likes of Ajaokuta Steel Company. We hear a lot of investment being made in that sector. Now, what do you think? Because many still say that government have no business in business, and think private sector guys are to operate all of this. They will make profits because they will invest their money and they'll put their money where their mouth is. Now, do you see PPP as a way to go to help reactivate this sector? It's really important we get this right.
So if they are talking about Ajaokuta Steel, which is a major plant, and also because of its importance to our national economy, yes, we can be looking at IPP, but then PPP. But then we have to understand that the primary responsibility of the government is to provide an enabling environment for businesses to operate. I believe that if the environment is conducive for investors to come in, they will come in. If they feel that their investment is safe, they will come into the country. So that's what I think the government should focus on. But because of the interest of our nation, Ajaokuta Steel is critical. We've been on it for several decades and nothing has been done about it. So we feel that it is time for the government to do whatever is required, whatever is being paid to resuscitate this plant. It's just very important for our national economy.
Indeed, Nigeria cannot industrialize without the steel industry being, reactivated, and at least level of productivity should be very high if we are to industrialize as a nation. Now, in all of these transfers, all of these challenges we talked about, so something about technical transfer comes to my mind. How well are we also transferring knowledge from maybe our international partners that come here to, work and all of that? Are we sharing knowledge so that at the end of the day, we can take charge of some of these facilities?
Well, I would say that maybe to an extent, but that even when it comes to knowledge transfer, you want to look at the environment itself. People who want to come to Nigeria, they want to conduct an environmental scanning, for example. They want to say that whatever they are bringing in, whether in terms of even people coming in and or trying to send in whatever support they are sending in, that they are safe in a way, and they are going to get return for whatever investment they are making, whether in terms of financial or human. So I think. Something is being done in that area, but I don't think we are doing enough right now.
Now, let's wrap up on this note. Erratic power supply, importation. We've talked about all of this. Now, what are the quick wins for this sector if we are to harness its potential, take advantage of it as a country? And when will you get to that point where we will stop to import iron ores and all of that from abroad?
Okay, so I think the government has to look at some of its policies, especially if you look at the Local Content Act. Okay, the Executive Order 205 stipulates that procurement, especially at the federal level, ministries and all that, are sourced locally if there are evidence that those products can be sourced in Nigeria. But, like I said, it is one thing to have a policy in place, another thing for you to implement it. What we see now is a far cry from the original intention of the government. So government has to demonstrate that way, by encouraging manufacturers, to do more. We don't want a situation whereby items that can be produced in Nigeria, are being sourced from outside the country. For example, of course, if you look at the roofing sheet, for example, we have companies in Nigeria that can produce roofing sheet. Yet we still have, imported the roofing sheet coming into the country. Right now, a lot of money is being spent on rail line in Nigeria, but some of the products that are required that can be sourced in Nigeria, which of course barricade fencing is one of them, they are being imported into the country. It shouldn't be. Government has to look into this area and ensure that its policy is being implemented the way it should be. I think with that it will help. Of course, the issue of foreign exchange is a major challenge. When you're talking about Bitcoin, right now, some of our manufacturers cannot access foreign exchange. Okay, it's a major problem to get foreign exchange to buy spare parts, to buy raw material, or to bring additional equipment. We cannot get. We don't know what is happening to the foreign exchange in Nigeria today. When dollar was about $30, it was even better today. Crude oil. When crude oil was about $30 per barrel, it was better. Today it's around $60 or thereabout. Yet we still cannot get. If you apply for $1 million, you cannot even get $50,000. So it's a huge problem. Government has to begin to look at this important aspect, and see what they can do. This is what can encourage businesses in Nigeria.
Vice President of Basic Metal Sector of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Mr. Lekon Adewoye. Thank you very much for your time and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much.